Well, are you preparing for your real estate exam and you're concerned about your concepts, different, not necessarily just terms, but concepts in Texas real estate exam? Well, this video is for you. I'm reviewing some different concepts with slides. So something a little bit new. All right, so let's get started. This is Wow Lily Hendy coming to you from San Antonio, Texas, helping you prepare for your real estate exam. I also am creating videos about how to do scripting to get sellers and listing presentations and other types of videos to help you build your business or grow it. So let's get with it. All right. So Texas real estate license exam. And if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the comments and I will get to them for you. All right. So Texas real estate license exam, we're doing concepts. So what's the purpose of the real estate license? It's to regulate, or for Texas Real Estate Commission, it is to regulate real estate licenses, protect the public, ensure fairness in real estate, and in real estate transactions, maintain professional standards for practitioners. So it is Texas Real Estate Commission, stands for TREC, and that's where you will get licensed. That's not where you take your exam. However, that is who will issue your license. And once you pass your exam, you will be in inactive status. And once you join a real estate brokerage, well, you're hang your license, then you will become active. You can go online and change the status of your license from inactive to active once you choose your broker. So a license. So to obtain a Texas real estate salesperson license, you must complete what? So these are the requirements for a Texas real estate license: 180 hours of qualifying education. It's actually 6 courses. And you have 2 courses of principles. You're going to deal with contract, promulgated contracts, financing, and real estate law, mathematics, financing. You must then pass the exam. Once you finish all your real estate courses, which there are many online schools that you can take it from, that'll cost you sometimes on Groupon $150, $200, up to $350. Now, if you get the courses, the education classes with a prep book, which I highly recommend, then you will study for preparing for your exam everything that will be reviewed. That was on the 6 courses, 180 hours. I'm stuttering today. And the prep books will review, summarize everything that you studied in those 6 courses, and then provide you with Texas questions and answers and national questions and answers. So once you send all those certificates to TREC, then you submit your application, or right before that, you pay a fee, and they will approve your license. They will approve your courses. Then you have to pass the exam. Also, you're submitting the license application with the 180 hours. You provide fingerprinting and a background check. All these are required. There are no exceptions. And a lot of times I say, submit your application once you've taken all your 6 courses, because the application is good right for a year, and taking the exam 3 times is the max. You don't have to take it for 3 times, okay? So here, education, examination, application, background, and more background, the fingerprint. Okay, what kind of fines does Texas Real Estate Commission have? So TREC can impose fines for violations. There's a maximum fine violation of $5,000, pretty hefty. So you want to keep everything honest, follow the rules, follow the laws. That's why we take a lot of courses in law. And Legal Update 1, Legal Update 2, once you renew every 2 years. Now, criminal fines, which is a misdemeanor for Class A misdemeanor for unlicensed activity, can be up to $4,000 and up to 1 year of jail time. It says up to $4,000, up to 1 year of jail time. That's for misdemeanor unlicensed activity. And other actions like license suspension or revocation can be some of the fines. Now, enforcement helps maintain standards in real estate, and it protects the public interest, because who are we working with? The public, right? We're working with individuals, men and women, adults, and investors and commercial owners. So it protects the public interest and ensures compliance. However, investors are supposed to have more knowledge. However, we are the licensed parties, so we have to make sure we do our fiduciary and protect our clients. Talking about fiduciary, what are our duties? Loyalty to our client, right? Disclosure. We disclose our license. We disclose anything that we learn from our clients or that we observe, that we can see, that will have an impact on a decision. Compensation, we get commission, and there is no standard commission. It's all negotiable. Many realtors, charge, 6%, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is what they're worth, and their clients will pay for it because of their service and the quality of their work. And the clients trust them. Obedience. So we're obeying our clients to follow their instructions in their purchase or their sale or renting and being a landlord. And accounting, having accountability and keeping track of all our duties with our clients and negotiating with them. Now, what is a recovery account? A recovery trust account, it's actually called. So the Texas Real Estate Recovery Trust Account serves to do what? It compensates consumers harmed by licensee misconduct. So follow the rules, be honest, be transparent, okay? Do everything that is right and best for the client. Protect the public interest in real estate transactions. Provide financial recourse for aggrieved parties, because they don't pay for our damages. This recovery account, trust account, pays the public, the person that was harmed, and our E&O, our error and omission that we have for every transaction from our broker, that is what covers us. So balance the scales. So what is personal property? Well, you see on the picture, right? All that is personal property. Personal property includes movable items. Sometimes the refrigerator is built in. You can't move it. Built-in cabinets, built-in library. So those are permanent fixtures. Examples of movable items: furniture, electronics, vehicles. A freestanding refrigerator is considered personal property. Also a freestanding stove, range, anything that is freestanding then can be taken and is considered personal property. Now, if there's a chandelier or something that is an artifact to the owners, they will have to disclose that they are going to take that, remove it, and put something else in its place. That has to be disclosed in the MLS, okay, in the public, so that the buyer doesn't feel that they're going to get to keep that item. It's removable, therefore it can be replaced and must be replaced if there was one in the first place, hanging. Understanding this distinction is crucial in real estate. It's not real estate property, which is the land, what's above it, okay, all the structures up in the air and underground. And you'd say, well, what's underground? Well, you could have all your plumbing, you could have a well, you could have a sewer tank and a septic tank, and then all the electrical, a lot of things that are below the surface. What's above the surface? So let's say you're in a condominium and the city or the county will only allow a certain height. Why? Because it'll interfere with the view of the others if there's an ocean view, a river view, a mountain view. So there is airspace that can be leased or purchased or sold, I should say. An open listing. So would you actually want to take an open listing? Well, no, I wouldn't. You can, but it's a seller can choose an open listing to work with multiple brokers simultaneously or realtors. Some states of realtors are called brokers, like in Oregon, and the broker is called a principal broker, but we're in Texas. So our broker is the broker of the real estate company, the brokerage, and then we are the realtors. So having multiple brokers or multiple realtors, it's a disadvantage to the realtor because only one realtor is going to sell that property for the owner. Okay, the owner actually sells it. We attract the buyers in order to bring an offer, okay, procure an offer. However, if there's nothing in writing, an open listing, if that owner, it's an advantage to the owner, right? It says this arrangement allows greater exposure and competition among agents, right? So there's a lot of competition among agents because there's nothing in writing. And somebody is trying to say, hey, man, look, man, this man gave me $1 million property. And he says, if I sell it, he's going to give me 5% commission. Well, he's saying that to all the other realtors. And I would not risk that because there is nothing in writing. That's why we have contracts and an exclusive right to sell. Many brokerages will not allow open listings. It'll lead to a faster sale and a better price for the owner, but only for one realtor versus 50 that they gave them requests to try and sell the property, and they would give them their commission. However, if you don't have anything in writing, they may say, well, I'm not going to give you the commission. I did all the work. Okay. I'm the one that promoted. I'm the one that talked it. I don't get in that situation. All right. The only time that I personally would consider an open listing is of a repeat client that I trust and they trust in me. We have long, many, many years of a relationship. But even then, your brokerage may not allow it, and many do not, because we want to get paid, right? We deserve to get paid. Ooh, police power. So are these police that are out going policing the area? No, it's actually the zoning regulations. Well, sometimes they might bring a police, but it is zoning regulations, building codes. So zoning regulations are in the planning department and the building codes, environmental restrictions. So you have to get an approval for a well, a septic when you live out in rural areas. In urban areas, mostly you're not going to deal with wells or septic tanks. Land use planning, and that's so to control where is high density of people within a community, within a city, a township. So within the city, usually it's higher use. So you have duplexes, fourplexes, apartment buildings, hotels. So that zoning, okay, is commercial. And then there will be like R4, which is for 4 residents, a fourplex, then R2 for duplexes or 2 homes on a lot, and the majority will be R1. So the area, okay, of the city is zoned in depending on what environmental foundation substructure does the city have. Because if it cannot withstand an increase of population within the city, then they cannot permit, okay, a high population, high dense area. Because we're dealing with water, power, and so many other things. So now there are holding ponds next to hotels, next to big restaurants, next to convention centers in case there's flooding or they have major water leak, right? Because there's major water usage. And then there are public health regulations, okay, to allow for disabled individuals, wheelchairs, sidewalks, all that type of thing. So go into and learn more about these police powers. These police powers are more common within the city zoning. The county has less restrictions. Okay, so what is a license? What are you required? You must be at least, 18 years old. Must meet education requirements. Here in Texas, it's how many hours? 180 hours. And once you do your 180 hours and you're getting ready for the exam, then you want to submit your application to TREC. What is TREC? Texas Real Estate Commission. Then register for taking the exam and pass it. And you have 3 opportunities to take the exam in Texas. And you also have to complete a background check, right? And a fingerprints. So if for some reason you don't pass it the first time around, don't beat yourself up. What you do know is what you don't know. So now you know more of what you don't know. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, okay? Even what we should know. So you go back and create a better schedule and inform family to give you that private time for you to prepare and study. And you want to study every single day. I mean, that's what I did. And I studied for hours. And then I went and viewed properties. I started learning the market in the area when I had to rest, right? Take a break from studying. We do need to do that and sleep well and eat well. And before the exam, don't take a lot of bullets. The bullet drinks where you get real hyper. Yeah, don't do that because you're going to get somewhat nervous. You're already nervous to begin with to go to the exam. And then if you take a lot of caffeine or one of those drinks, you're going to be really nervous and can't focus on the questions. So real estate, what is it? The term for land plus improvements is real estate. So here's the surface, right? Oh, I'm sorry. So this is the surface of the land. And then the air above it, that's another part of the real estate. And anything below the ground down to the center of the earth. So we own above, surface, and below. So real estate is all the improvements in the land. Real estate includes building structures and other enhancements on the property. Power lines, plumbing, concrete, foundation. You could have, as I mentioned, a well, a septic, internet service that's connected with a satellite dish. With a lot of that is going away, right? We're having better internet. Luckily today, no interruptions so far. Understanding this concept is crucial for real estate transactions. So when there's an offer on a property, it's under contract, mutual agreement, then the lender is going to request a survey. So that survey is going to take all the 4 points of the property, if it's a rectangle or a triangle or a square. If it's curved, then they've got to go and measure through all the curves and all the rounds and stuff. And there's calculations for that. and they'll put on the drawing, on the survey blueprint, where the electrical is, where the plumbing is, where the fence is, where the house is, put measurements. They include all that. And that is the survey. If there's any discrepancies of a neighbor encroaching on there, it'll show up on the survey. And it's important to have a survey, especially when we have close by neighbors and they want to put a fence up, or we want to put a fence up, because I tell you what, those boundary issues and battles can be really ugly. And so it's best to have a survey and know the exact boundaries. And how does the survey start? You have a starting point marker, and then it goes all the way again and comes to the end point. So the starting point and the end point are the same. Liens. What are liens? And by the way, I think this is a dual language, different types of liens. So a voluntary lien, it's voluntary. What's the word say? Voluntary lien is created by agreement between parties. So this could be a mortgage loan to buy a house, or to refinance the house, or it could be an automobile and it's on a loan. So the lender has a lien on that, on the title of the automobile, the vehicle. If it's a home, they'll have a lien on the home until it's paid for. And there we have a release of liens, commonly seen with mortgages or home equity, or liens. However, liens can be put on other business equipment that an individual owns. However, we're going to start with residential real estate when you get started. If you're thinking of going into commercial, your broker is going to say, hey, we need to get you to get your feet wet and understand contracts, the concepts, how to deal with sellers, buyers, and other realtors, title companies, inspectors, and all of the above. There's a huge network of people that we're going to deal with. And so these are not the only types of liens, but these are the most common, right? Because we're in real estate. People are going to buy and sell real estate. Now, it allows the lenders to secure interest in the party. So the deed will have the owner of the property and a vendor's lien. A vendor's lien can be the bank, or it could be a hard money lender. And hard money, if you don't know what hard money is, these are individuals that have money and they provide loans to persons that don't have a good credit score. So they can provide loans. However, they're going to be at a higher interest rate, and they have a shorter term, 3-5 years, and maybe even 10 years. If a person pays good, they can renew it. So what is earnest money? What's its purpose? So the purpose of an earnest money deposit includes, it demonstrates the buyer's serious intent of purchasing that property, and it is put in the contract, okay, in the 1-4 real estate resale contract. It is on there. How much earnest money? Most of us will ask, and clients, we recommend at least 1% earnest money of the offer price. So if it's $500,000, the earnest money would be $5,000. Some owners will ask for more, especially if they've had multiple offers and they fall, which is happening in today's market. A lot of buyers are falling out of escrow for different reasons. So that demonstrates the buyer's serious intent, showing good faith in the transaction. And then we also get a good faith estimate from the lender, okay? That's another good faith thing that the lender has to provide to the buyer. Providing security for the seller during negotiations. So if the buyer happens to default and they cannot close, well, let me backtrack. So the buyer's going to have an option period if they want to go through inspections. Majority will, especially FHA, VA, conventional. If they're investors, a lot of times they won't have a home inspection. They'll do it on their own, bring their own inspector. They'll actually inspect it, but not like we typically would with a real estate inspector. And if they continue after the option period, they negotiate after the option period. Okay, you know what? It needs a new roof or it needs repairs. Okay, that'll be renegotiated until they come to an agreement. If there is no agreement between the seller and the buyer, then the buyer can get their earnest money back. However, both parties have to sign the earnest money release document. The title company will not release any earnest money until both parties sign. Now, the other option, if towards the end, the buyer does not get approved by the underwriters of the lending company or the bank or the mortgage brokers, if they want their earnest money back, the lender has to provide a letter that the buyer didn't meet, okay, the qualification, the requirements, accreditation that they needed for them. There is a deadline on the contract. They say, okay, you have 21 days to show proof and that you're finally approved by the lender. After the lender is approved, then the house has to be approved. And that's where there is an appraisal. And then after the appraisal, then there's a survey. We don't want everything to be done at the same time because we may be causing the client to spend money when they are not ready to. Because if the buyer doesn't get final approval, then they can get out of the contract. If it goes past the deadline of the financing addendum, then the buyer may lose their earnest money. And that's where this buyer is serious. They expected everything to go well. So that earnest money of $5,000 will belong to the seller if the buyer defaults after the deadline. Now, if the buyer can't close because there's an issue with the survey or an issue with the appraisal, then rightly so, they will get their earnest money back. However, again, both seller and buyer must sign that earnest money release document. And sometimes they don't sign. Sometimes they don't agree. Buyer believes, hey, that money is mine. That earnest money is mine. The seller said, no, man, that earnest money is mine. I met all the requirements. I did all my special performance. And if both parties don't agree, the seller or the buyer can ask the title company, give them a demand letter saying that they want that earnest money back. Well, that demand letter will be provided to the other party and both parties have to answer. It still doesn't come to an agreement. That money stays with the title company. Nobody gets it. If there is no agreement or nobody backs out, saying, okay, I'll release the earnest money, then eventually it'll go to the state. So it goes to La La Land, okay? The state keeps it. But it's a security for the seller, for the buyer to stand. Oh, let me go back, okay? It's a security for the seller during the negotiations because the property is off the market for those days. And that's lost opportunity to sell, especially when the market is changing a lot and they could have gotten other offers. Now, they could have a backup offer. And if the first offer is terminated by the buyer or because they can't close, then the second offer will come into position number one. Okay, here we go again with the recovery trust account. So what are some amounts that are allowed with the trust recovery account or the recovery trust account, which is for the person that is filing a complaint on a realtor or a broker. And there's also one for inspectors. So the maximum amount from the recovery trust account is $125,000 per transaction with a maximum of $250,000 per licensee for the year. It protects the consumers harmed by a real estate licensee, or important for maintaining trust in real estate practices. So I highly tell you, be honest, be transparent, tell the truth, work for the best interest of our clients, not for ourselves. When we do an excellent job for our clients, we will get paid, we will get compensated. And so I am very fortunate that I like to follow the rules when it comes to real estate, because it's a way of making money, right? It is my business, and avoid getting into any legal troubles and paying fines. We work hard for our money to have to pay fines? Heck no. All right, conveyance. What is conveyance? So here you have a lot of people signing documents. The legal process of transferring ownership. Who transfers ownership? The owner, the seller, the grantor transfers, conveys ownership to the buyer, who is going to become the new owner, right? So it is essential for real estate transaction. And what is the owner signing to transfer ownership? It is the deed. The seller signs the deed. Does the buyer sign the deed? No, because the deed is in the owner's name and maybe a vendor's lien, but the owner is the one that signs it. The owner, the grantor, the seller. It involves various legal documents. The deed is the main one. In the state of Texas, it's the deed of trust, the warranty deed, pardon me. And it ensures clear title transfer. The only way that ownership can be conveyed is when there's clear title. How do we find out if there's clear title? By taking the transaction, the contract, to a title company, and they do the title search on that property and provide a title commitment. And because that title search can surface individuals that got married, got divorced, there's incorrect names, there's similar names, and they belong to other people. They think the debt belongs to this individual, so they have to show proof with Social Security, date of birth, and remove those things from the title. And name corrections, quit claim deeds. That's when they're used sometimes. And then affidavits are also used for other things. And so if there's any liens, they're going to show up on the title commitment when a title search does. And there's different types of liens, right? There can be a first mortgage has superior. There could be property taxes, and that has priority. Property taxes has priority. And then mortgages, a first mortgage, a second mortgage. Then there could be mechanics liens. There could be judgments. There could be other types of liens. Those are called encumbrances, liens. They're attached to the title. They create a cloud on the title. So what is a deed? A deed, seller signs. It conveys to the other party, to the buyer. A valid deed must include a grantor's signature, seller's signature, right? Owner's signature. Accurate legal description. So what is it? Is the legal description the address? No. The address could be wrong, or it may not have an address. Like sometimes acreage doesn't have an address. So it is identified by legal description that was developed when property is divided, and zoning and surveyors create that legal description. Some are short legal descriptions, especially in the inner city, urban areas. Others can be longer because they'll have degrees and directions, north, east, west. So there's a lot of different things that can go into the legal description. Lot number, block number, if it's in the city. In the county, it'll mention 4 acres out of 10 or things like that. The deed must be delivered and accepted. So not just delivered, must be accepted by the grantee. Not required, grantee's signature. Who's the grantee? The buyer, the borrower, the new to be owner. Do we have that? So valid deed must include grantor's signature, the seller, accurate legal description, so it has to be in writing, delivery, it's delivered, and the other party accepts it, and a grantee is not required to sign. And the grantee is who? The purchaser, the buyer. Remember your OR and your EE, the giver and the receiver. Okay, what is the CMA? You're going to do a lot of these. We do a lot of these when we're dealing with sellers and with buyers. A comparative market analysis. There's two different kinds, a comparative and a competitive. The comparative market analysis is essential for real estate professionals. It helps in estimating a property's market value based on recent sales of similar properties. And we usually say, what is recent sales? Within the last 6 months. If the market is changing quickly, then it might be within the last 3 months. Current listings in the area. So that's the owner's competition. And then market trends and conditions. So with Real Property Resources, it's a program that you're going to have access to, a software on the internet that we can research. It's Realtor Property Resources, not real. And that covers the whole United States. You can research property anywhere in the US and owners and find, and somebody will say, well, how do you know that about my property? How do you know I own that? Well, you know what? It's available to us with the real estate program softwares that we use. Plus, it's public notice. All we got to do is Google it on the internet, get on the county where they live or the city, and we'll probably find it in the courthouse. Anything that's recorded, it's public notice. So recent sales within 3 to 6 months, current listings in the area, and the market trend. So is the market going up? Is it going down? Is it stable? We want to know that. Sometimes it's stronger within the city than it's in the urban. Some neighborhoods may be stronger and selling better than others because individuals like certain neighborhoods, and so they sell quicker. So these are types of information that we will have access to in the programs that we end up having available to us with National Association of Realtors, Texas Association of Realtors, and the local MLS, Multiple Listing Service. Those are 3 different organizations that we pay dues to every year. In January, we pay to NAR, TAR, and our local board. And then every quarter, we pay a fee to the local board so that we can use the online MLS system, list our properties, and search for properties for buyers. So be prepared. Here in Texas, it's about $415 every January 1st. So all your dues and everything that you'll be required to pay for the whole year can add up to be about $2,000. So be prepared for that. That's for the whole year. Sometimes it could be a little bit more. Depends on what fees your broker has. So easement, what is an easement? See, look at this here, 2 houses and 1 driveway or 1 road. It's a right to use another's land, specific purpose of usage, like a driveway, a septic, a well. And important in real estate transactions, because if it is not recorded, it can be taken away by the new owner. Commonly seen in utility and access agreements. One of the police powers is the easements that the utilities have. And so if you own a piece of property, let's say you own this whole property, and this is out in the county in the acreage. So here's a utility, right? So there's going to be, let me move this. So here's a utility. So you're going to have power, electric, and before we do any digging, we have to ask a locator to come and check to see where all those utilities are. And we cannot build on those easements where the utility needs to have access. If we put a fence, we have to provide an opening, a gate that they can have access, especially when there's an emergency and there's fire engines and ambulances that need access. So if you buy a piece of land out in the city and you have utilities in the back, don't fence your property all the way to the end of the property, even though it belongs to you. Okay, you can use it. However, you can't enclose it. If you do, they can take it down. However, they should discuss it with you or discuss it with the individual. So if there's a well, let me go back. So a well easement, a driveway easement, a septic easement, an easement for use of the, let's say, access to a river, a creek, or the ocean. All of these need to be recorded in order to go with the property, right? Move with the property. If you ever watch a Prep Agent with Joe Juder, he's like the cow that moves. So the easements move with the property, okay? He's an excellent instructor and has been around since 2012 or 2013 on YouTube. I've only been on YouTube since 2020. Okay, DTPA, DICPA, Deceptive Trade Practices Act. Okay, consumer protection laws. Protects consumers from deceptive practices. Encourages fair competition, so no monopoly. And commissions are negotiable. There's no standard commission. Provides legal remedies for consumers. Allows consumers to sue for damages and enhances transparency in business transactions. So if anything that I can really emphasize is learn the laws, stick to the laws, be honest, transparent, be sincere, loyal, right? And practice this because it is your business. Real estate is my business. It's your business, and that's your reputation. And you could get fined for doing illegal things. Okay, here's again the Recovery Trust Fund Act, Texas legal system. Maximum amount, as I mentioned earlier, a trust account per licensee is $250,000. And so what does the Recovery Trust account or Recovery Trust Fund do? Protects consumers against real estate licensee misconduct. Encourages ethical behavior. Oh, that's another word I wanted to use. Be ethical. That one is good for me because I was an engineer and we had to study ethics. We had to be ethical and be honest and sincere, especially when selling instruments. Here, we're helping sellers attract buyers, and because we don't sell it, they do. We are the person marketing the property and attracting buyers and realtors. And for buyers, we're researching and showing them properties that they're going to buy and guide them through lenders, inspections, appraisals, surveys, all the documentation, the settlement statement, the title commitment report. Now, we're not attorneys. We cannot translate the title commitment. That's for an attorney. They have to review it. And so I usually ask the title company, okay, give us exactly what do they need to fix on the title commitment so that we don't create any errors and we don't act as attorneys. So ethical behavior. If that understood, ask the title company, ask a broker, ask an attorney, and refer the clients to go to an attorney. They can take their contracts to an attorney. Okay, know that. If a buyer says, well, hey, I need to research, have an attorney review this. Can I do this? Absolutely. Okay, ownership. There's 4 different types of ownership. Okay, severalty. Severalty, it's like sever, you're only one, is the term for ownership by one person. The form of ownership means the individual has complete control over the property. It is distinct from joint ownership or partnership agreements. And then we have joint tenancy with right of survivorship. So joint tenancy is two or more people own the property equally, with a surviving owner automatically inheriting the deceased owner's share without going through probate. And it has to meet 4 conditions. So it has a right of survivorship. It's 2 or more people. They bought it at the same time and they have equal ownership, equal use and enjoyment of the property. So if there's 4 people, they each own 25%. And it has to be on the same deed, the same percentage, same closing period, and all people are listed. And it has the right of survivorship. So it can be a minimum of 2. If one of them dies, their share goes to the other survivors. It doesn't go to their heirs or to their children. This is a different type of ownership with multiple individuals, 2 or more, with a right of survivorship. So what does that mean? That the parties that survive of the joint tenancy inherit the percentage of the person who deceased. Tenancy. So one thing about joint tenancy, if one of them says, hey, I want to get out of this. Do you all want to buy my portion, my percentage? And if none of them wants to buy their percentage, they can sell their ownership after everybody agrees to someone else. That someone else will become a tenancy in common with the other owners. And that one does not have right of survivorship. It'll go to their heirs or whoever they have in their will or trust account, or it goes to probate. A tenancy in common. So they have something in common. They're tenants in common. So they're owners in common. Multiple people own a property together with no right of survivorship, meaning if one of them dies, it doesn't go to the other partner like it does in joint tenancy. It goes to their heirs or whoever they want to have that property that they put in their will or their trust. If there wasn't anybody, then it goes to probate. When an owner dies, their share passes to their heirs through their will or state's inheritance laws. Okay, probate. Community property. So in other states, it's tenants by the entirety. That's for married individuals. Here in Texas, and that one has survivorship. Here in Texas, it's called community property. So a form of ownership for married couples where both spouses own 100% of community property acquired during the marriage. So they own 100% use of the property. Okay. And if they want a right of survivorship, they do have to make a document or specify that there is a right of survivorship, because if not, their portion is going to go to their heirs. Many people have been married before and now they've remarried. So they purchased this property during marriage, not before, but during marriage. It becomes community property. Some individuals, sometimes there are some laws, I believe, that if the individuals do not marry, but they've been together for a certain number of years and they have shared in the purchase and expenses of that property, then they both also have equal shares, equal ownership. So again, if it's in other states, it's called tenancy by the entirety for married individuals, and it has survivorship. One dies, it goes to the other, not in community property unless there's a special document specifying that. So an option, what is an option? It gives one party the right to buy within a set time. It provides flexibility in negotiating terms and often requires a fee for the option. So in the contract, in the 1 to 4, resale residential contract, there's a section after the earnest money. If the buyer wants to do inspections, then they purchase a option period. It doesn't say, oh, I'm going to have this and this and this inspections. No, they're going to do their due diligence, and they want the owner to hold that, give them the option to do that in exchange for a fee. And that fee could be, $10 a day. Very common is 7 to 10 days. And in speedy markets, oh my gosh, it could be 3 days, right? And so we have to schedule the inspections, once there's a verbal agreement, get those inspections scheduled so that they close quickly. And during that option period, the seller cannot put another offer in its place, cannot accept another contract. You can only have one legal contract per property. Now they can have a backup offer, but that backup stays in backup until the first one were to be terminated. And it can be terminated after the option period. So it secures the buyer's earnest money during the option period. So if they pay $100, $10 a day for 10 days, those 10 days and those $100, the $100 goes directly to the title company that delivers to the seller. In the past, we used to take it directly to the seller or to the seller's agent. Now, the title company is able to distribute it. A lot of things changed during COVID. So that money stays with the seller, whether the buyer proceeds with the purchase or not. And if they decide, hey, after all these inspections, man, I don't want this house. It has a lot of issues. It needs a roof. It's got foundation issues. It's got water leaks. Nah, man, the AC is old. And those are major issues. Buyer will say, nope, I'm moving on. So they get their earnest money back, but seller has to release it, has to sign the release of earnest money, and the seller keeps the $100, and the realtor puts the property back on the market should the seller want to continue to sell. And most of the time they do, or it expires. And then we can do expired calls to see if we can get that listing, because most sellers are going to continue wanting to sell. So that is the option period. And when it's a commercial property, it's a defeasibility period, a feasibility period where they do a lot of research. Okay, mortgage. There's different types of mortgages, right? For a house, for furniture, for investments. So for real estate, there's conventional FHA loans, Federal Housing Administration, Veteran Assistance Association. I always forget. VA loans, okay, which is 100% loan for a buyer, and it is guaranteed. An FHA is insured. So there will be what is called mortgage interest premium. When it's a conventional and a buyer puts down less than 20%, there will be a private mortgage insurance, PMI. So the PMI can go away after they have 20% equity, which can happen if the real estate market appreciates, not necessarily just by paying it down. And then they have to request that they can pay the taxes and the insurance on their own and not have to pay that property mortgage insurance. Now with the FHA, that mortgage insurance premium stays until the loan is paid off. And nowadays, most people don't pay off their loans because we move a lot. So examples, so these are used to finance a real estate purchase or refinance. And there's also hard money loans. Hard money loans is with individuals that have money to loan to buyers, and they usually come with a high interest rate. Examples, they're used to finance either a home, land, business, and they can have other types of mortgages or loans for furniture. Benefits, they can also be used to consolidate financing for convenience. So home equity line of credit, sometimes individuals will take out the equity on their home and consolidate all their credit cards or other loans. So they have one payment instead of 10 different payments for 10 different credit cards. That does happen. Okay, RESPA, Real Estate Settlements Procedures Act. It ensures transparency in real estate transactions. Again, transparency. Disclose, disclose, disclose. Review all the costs, everything. Requires disclosures about settlement costs. So the settlement costs are the buying costs of the lender, of insurance, prepaid costs like insurance, property taxes, HOA, which are prorated. Those are prepaid. They're only paid once upfront, but that increases the amount of closing costs that a buyer has when they have a loan. So then there's also the loan fees, maybe a origination fee, which can be 0.5 point, 1 point, 1.5 point, and that origination fee is from the lender, the bank, mortgage broker. Mortgage brokers work on commission. Banks, they're typically employees of a bank. There's a mortgage banker. There's a mortgage broker. The mortgage broker deals with many different types of banks, okay, and selects the best one for a buyer. So the settlement, the RESPA, also protects consumers from excessive fees. So all fees have to be disclosed. Promotes fair practices in lending. So remember that settlement, real estate settlement, deals with all the costs that the lender has to provide to the buyer so they can compare multiple lenders, and we call it a good faith estimate. A lot of times it's not delivered. The buyer should ask for it and go compare with other lenders, because each lender is different, like each real estate agent and each broker. Okay, they provide different services, different fees, and so are title companies. Certain costs are standard nationally, but others are not. Others can vary. So RESPA, Fair Housing Act. We got to be fair to everyone. What's not included is age. So age is not protected. However, race, color, national origin, sex, religion, disability, and familial status is protected under Fair Housing Act. Remember those. There are 7. There's an acronym, rice, corn, or I forget the acronym, free corn or something like that. And it actually uses each of the letters. And that's how a lot of students end up remembering. That's how I used to remember it. But it's Fair Housing Act protects race, color, national origin, sex, religion, disability, and familial status. Okay, and the disability is not the ADA, okay? That's different. Don't ask me what it stands for, because I just forgot. Okay, appreciation. This is what we hope when we have real estate, appreciation and depreciation. So appreciation is property value increase due to external factors like subdivision, develop new homes, the little house on the block, that's value will increase because there's a lot of nice homes that were built, and roads and curb and gutter and driveways and sidewalks. All that affects the price value. It's also driven by market demand, economic growth, and location improvements. They say location, location, location. One of the locations is a corner lot. Not everybody likes them, but they do, because you won't have neighbors on 2 sides. And I like corner lots. And then economic growth, like right now, we have challenges due to the economy and market demand. Market demand, so you have the, when there's a lot of real estate on the market and not enough buyers, okay, then prices start to drop. When there are a lot of buyers, that's usually when there's lower interest rates and they're making more money, then real estate prices increase and there's a lot of construction. Actually, right now there's a lot of construction because, you know, a lot of new families and people are living longer years, so more dwellings are needed. It's also appreciation influenced by the neighborhood. So here in this picture, right? Nice looking neighborhood, beautiful neighborhood, trees. So the appreciation is influenced by that. And the appraiser will look at all these factors when determining the value of a property in comparison to others. It's also, okay, so it's influenced by neighborhood developments and amenities. So subdivisions with gated community, with pools, golf courses, basketball courts, swimming pools, all those amenities add value. And a lot of people nowadays do want gated communities for protection. That comes with HOA, homeowner association dues every month, because somebody's got to maintain the gates, the streets, the driveways, the outdoors, the gardening. If it's condominiums, townhomes, or apartment, the HOA will take care of the outside of the condominiums, of the townhomes, the roof, the gates, the driveways, the pavement. And usually with the HOA on those types of dwellings, then they cover water, waste, and garbage, trash. So some people hate HOAs because a lot of large communities that don't have all the amenities also charge HOAs, yet the individuals have to maintain their own lawns, insure the whole thing of their home, but they're in a certain area and they're gated, okay? Or they might have a security guard at the entrance. So that costs money, right? So there are pros and cons to HOAs. Okay, escrow. What is escrow? There's different types of escrow. So escrow holds funds securely until contract conditions are met. So when there's a contract, the earnest money, that is good faith money, seriousness of the buyer, is delivered to the title company, either by the client or by the realtor or the broker. And it's put in an escrow account, in their trust account for that transaction. And they're held there until the property goes to closing. And that escrow is applied to the down payment or what other expenses are involved, whatever the buyer decides to use that earnest money for. It's typically for the down payment or closing costs. It protects both buyer and seller during transactions. Okay, because the seller has a very serious buyer and they put their good faith money. It's held by the title company, or it could be held by an attorney. The attorney can become the escrow company. They can also close transactions. And it facilitates smooth financial exchanges in real estate deals. So the title company or the attorney, whoever is the escrow, holds that money and then applies that money plus all the other monies coming in. They distribute it to all the debts that have to be paid, any liens, any property taxes, inspections, fees, commissions for their own services. So all that money is distributed by the escrow officers. So that is one of the team members, your network that you will have. Now, another type of escrow is when there is a loan and the lender wants to have money in a savings account from the buyer to pay for property taxes and homeowners insurance when they are due. So that is also called an escrow, right? It's a fund account. It's a trust account. It's a savings account. So in addition to principal and interest on the loan, which that does not change when it's fixed, the mortgage amount might change, and that is due to the taxes, property taxes, and insurance. So that's what we call PITI, P-I-T-I, property, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, P-I-T-I. So that principal, interest for the loan, and then taxes and insurance are put into the escrow account. The escrow it was talking about here is when there's a contract going through a closing transaction. Any questions? I believe that is the last. I removed myself. That was the last term. So this is a little bit different that I did. Instead of doing just multiple choice questions, okay, I'm providing other types of ways to educate and show you, some of them with illustrations, some with examples, my own experience, because I've been in the industry since full-time since 2005. I did take a couple of years, but I kept my license active, and I've done real estate in Oregon. I did residential, lots of land, and a little bit of commercial. And then I moved to South Texas, got my license in Texas, and then I moved to San Antonio. So I have been in 3 different markets that I've had to learn and get started all over again. And once you have the knowledge here and you keep renewing the knowledge, that's why we're required to take continuing education every 2 years, because a lot of times we forget a lot of these terms, okay, a lot of these concepts, and we need to keep them fresh. And technology is changing with all the AI that we've got going on, right? And so I'm even studying that and learning that because it helps. In fact, AI is helping me create better presentations for you. But I have to review all the information because it does make mistakes. As they say, Chat GPT is hallucinates, okay? Because they found that it is biased when it comes to politics, religion, and other things. So we have to review the material before we publicize it and use it. I had to review everything that ChatGPT through Canva provided me. Some things were incorrect, and we cannot trust AI completely because they're a machine, right? They take language and words and put it together, and they even tell you, check it, there could be errors. And so they say ChatGPT hallucinates. So anyway, so I'm doing different types of presentations to provide you with the knowledge to prepare for your exams. My biggest stress is learn that vocabulary, the vocabulary in the questions and answers. That's why a lot of times I just like to show you the question, go through the answers, point out all the vocabularies in there, and then give you the answer, give you a chance to type the answer in the chat. And then I'll let you know whether it's right or wrong. And I typically use it through the book, and I will continue to do that, but I'm finding others that are a little bit more entertaining and more illustrative. So if you like this format, hey, please put something in the chat or in the comment after the video is complete on YouTube so that I can continue to create more. How you doing? Says, thank you for the lesson. It was a great reminder. Med yellow, first red. Metal yellow, first red. All right, Oscar. Awesome. Thank you so much for attending. And keep in mind, I am an active realtor here in Texas. In fact, right now I'm reviewing continuing education. I'm taking the 18 hours of continuing education because my license expires next month. Usually I do it early, but now I'm running last minute. So I am also studying like you do. Hi, Kevin Arenas. Thank you so much for, let me see, I was supposed to show it on the screen. Let's see, there we go. Any video recommendations? Yes, I have hundreds of them. Review the vocabulary, because vocabulary doesn't matter what year it's from. I have a lot of vocabulary videos, and then I have lots of Texas questions, national questions. National questions pretty much are the same. They're the same for all 50 states. Texas questions, the majority are still the same. Some do change as Texas laws change, especially with the National Association of Realtors lawsuits that we have. Certain things change on the contract and about commissions, okay, and how we explain to clients. So first off, do a lot of vocabulary. Once you do a lot of vocabulary, do some every day, 5 or 6 vocabulary a day, so that when you do the questions, then you understand the questions better and you recognize them. And don't repeat the questions just once. Once you do an exam, okay, and that I have on here, my videos are a little bit different. I read the question, I point out vocabulary, then I read the answers, point out vocabulary, give you life experiences. I do more explanation. If you want just question, answer, next, question, answer, there are other instructors or other tutors that do that. I go into a little bit more detail, and so does Joe Juder from Prep Agent. There are a lot of different schools for different types of learning. Some people are audio, they have to listen. Other are visual. I'm visual. I like to see what I'm doing. I don't like to just read red and black, okay? And so there's, visual, auditory, and just text. So everybody learns differently. Find which way you are. A lot of vocabulary, yes. So I have many. As I said, I've been doing these since October of 2020. I did take almost 2 years off to focus on my real estate business and on family. Have a lot of older brothers and they're having some health issues. So I do a little bit of traveling, and that's important. Keep in mind, once you become a realtor, real estate is very demanding and it requires a lot of your time, more than full time. Why? Because it is your business. If you want to make a lot of money in your real estate, you can and you will, but you've got to put the time in, put the hours in, be honest, ethical, transparent, follow the rules, do the law, stay out of trouble. Educate, continue to learn always. So when studying questions, go through the exam and then see what you misunderstood or what you didn't understand. Go back and review it. Then take the exam again. Keep taking the exams until you get a 100 score. A 70 score on practice exams from prep books or from schools isn't good enough. You're going to get questions that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't study that. Well, they want us to use common sense also. And we are to be problem solvers, find solutions. So we have to think about it. And if you don't know an answer, they recommend that you guess. All right. There are, I think the new book that I bought, and I have a link in the description about the new book from Stephen Metling, Texas Real Estate Prep book, all inclusive. It talks about how to deal with multiple choice questions when you don't know an answer. And you've got to pick an answer. Don't just let it go, because you're going to be graded on those that you answer correctly. And there are some questions you won't be graded on, because you get more questions than what you actually do get graded on, because there's the broker exam is the same as the realtor exam. Theirs just has more questions. Okay, it's the same material. And we're studying the same material. Unless they want to be a property manager, then you take property management courses. Unless you want to do more commercial real estate, then you take commercial real estate, ranch and land and ranch, farm. Then you take more courses on that to learn what it takes to do those. I've stayed predominantly residential. I've been an investor, so I have a lot of knowledge on different types of transactions. And I'm a retired engineer, so I'm real detail oriented and ethical. I practice ethics and honesty. Okay, so I thank you all for being here. This is awesome. I'm doing it every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. I may add Tuesday and Thursday like I did in 2023 and 2022 and cover more information, especially for those that are having an exam coming up soon. If you don't pass the first time, hey, study more, set a good schedule, be dedicated, be committed, be consistent, go take it again. Don't let that stop you. And if for some reason you don't pass it on the third time, then you're going to repeat 2 of the courses again, and then you take it again. Because we're dealing with serious business, people's lives, emotions. You're going to wear a lot of hats, deal with a lot of different people, not only buyers and sellers, but investors, commercial people, all the network, okay, title companies, attorneys, inspectors, realtors, a whole slew of them, a whole slew, contractors, developers, okay? So don't be afraid. If you really want this, be consistent, dedicated, and committed. It does take a lot of work. Hi, Cash Jay. You're very welcome. And with that said, hey, have an awesome, I should have had something Halloween. I should have done my thumbnail like Halloween. Have an awesome week, fun Halloween. If you have children, be very careful with the children, protect them, and check out all their candies and stuff that they get. And see you next week. This is Wild Lily Hendy coming to you. My last name's Dominguez, but I go by Wild Lily Hendy because Hendy's my mom's name. And yeah, I'm going to go RVing. I bought an RV. So I'm also posting videos about me learning all about RVing because what? That's part of me energizing, okay, re-energizing myself, enjoying the outdoors, the mountains, the rivers, the ocean. They calm me, they relax. And we need that. And it's important to make time for family. Put your family first on the calendar and then all your business and education. If you have any questions, post them on YouTube. And hey, please subscribe. Okay, click that subscribe button. Thumbs up if you like it. Comments, I answer all the comments. And click the alert so that you get notified. And if you want me to put you on my messenger group, put your, your Facebook handle, and I'll add you to one of my messenger books where I send out reminders. I also have the Facebook private group, AgentPrep, and you can sign up for that, but you have to answer the questions. It asks for, are you going to do real estate full time? Where are you located? And your email. If those questions aren't answered, you're not accepted. There's a lot of different resources in there and that you can utilize. Prep Agent also has lots of resources on his Facebook page, okay, that you can utilize. Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for the tips. I will be going back soon for the 4th time. I get it. Math got me last time. Well, you know what? Math got me started doing these classes. I hated being in front of the camera. And I had a young lady that she actually helps me in South Texas that couldn't pass the exam after 5 times because of math. And so I offered to help her with math. And from her, she told others, and I started helping others, tutoring them. Then I did it live in the Keller Williams office conference room. Then I went to Facebook because others lived an hour away. And then during COVID, I started doing this on YouTube. So I've been around. And so ask me anything about real estate. If I don't know it, I will research it. And Jenny, that's okay. You just keep going. When you want something bad enough, you're going to do it until you succeed. I also will tell you, you keep missing it by one. I'll tell you, when I took my Oregon, I missed it by one. I had to retake it on my Oregon license. And then I also took it in Michigan, but I didn't stay. But I didn't pass the first time. I took all the courses and then I moved back to Oregon. So do know that you have to have money to get the business started, because this is your business. You're going to run it the way you want to run it, but following the rules, the laws, and your broker's practices and principles. Okay. And, but you need to have money or someone that supports you and help you. You can start making money right away, but you got to hustle, lead generate, talk to people all the time, let everybody know once you are licensed. Okay. Not before. You can tell people that you know, hey, I'm going to get licensed pretty soon. So if you're going to be looking to buy or sell, think of me when I pass my exam. I'll let you know. And so don't be a secret agent once you get your license. Tell the whole world, because now we can on social media, right? Any questions? So once I start doing multiple choice questions, I will ask you all to participate and type the question number and the letter answer. And then if somebody gets it wrong, I will explain why it was wrong. All right. I enjoyed it. I loved it. This was great. Thank you so much for being here. This is Lily Hendy Dominguez with YouTube Agent Prep, here to help you pass your exam. I passed, and I passed. Bye. Until next time, next Wednesday.